Hi, this is Jeanette Carlson from the Bellevue Public Schools Instructional Coaching Team, and welcome to the virtual summer school training. I will walk through some of the key components to help you get started today with your summer school course and best practices in Zoom, along with some instructional practices. So we will get started here. Our agenda for today, we'll talk about the outcomes of this training and then a grounding activity. We'll go through setting up your Zoom classroom and how you do that. We'll talk a little bit about, once that Zoom classroom is set up, some classroom management and expectations that you can share with your students, and then a little bit about instruction and engagement in a virtual environment. And then we'll have time for question and answers, and then have an exit ticket at the end. So to get started, the learning outcomes for today's session. At the end of this session, teachers will understand how to set up a Zoom meeting and share the link, understand how to use the Zoom features for effective classroom setup and engagement, understand strategies for classroom management and setting expectations, and become familiar with the components of online instructional design. So first of all, just take some time to look at this blob bridge and look at the blob people on the bridge and think about which blob person best describes how you feel about teaching remote summer school. And at this point in time in the training, we broke out into breakout rooms, and participants were able to share how they were feeling with a partner to be able to experience how a breakout room works in Zoom. And later on, we will show you where the resources are on how you use breakout rooms in Zoom. One thing we do want to share with you that we did today in the meeting was how to use reactions with your students. So at the bottom of your Zoom screen, if everybody clicks on participants, your students and yourself, on the left-hand side here down at the bottom, you will see a yes, a no, go slower, go faster, and then if you click on the three dots, you'll also see some thumbs up, down, a clap. This one is need a break, and I'm away. So you can ask your students a question. Are you understanding what we're going through? And you could have them say yes. So if they check mark, you'll see a green circle up there, and you will be able to see all of your students' reactions, and the students will see each other. So do keep that in mind, that you will be able to see everyone's. You could also have the students give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and that will change. And the other thing, over here on the left-hand side, right here at the bottom, you'll see reactions. You can also have them click the clap, and that will show up on their video. So they can do a clap or they can do a thumbs up. So you could have them use this reaction down here, and that would show up on all of their screens, or they can also use the one over here on the right-hand side. So first, we're going to get started by going over how to set up your Zoom classroom. I would like to bring to your attention the two hot links here, setting up your Zoom meeting and then during the Zoom meeting. So the first link will take you to another Google slide presentation, which I'll show you in just a moment, that will walk you through with screenshots how to set that up. And then the second link is to another Google presentation that talks about how you adjust some of your Zoom settings after you've launched a Zoom meeting and you're in the meeting with students, some things that you can adjust. And so that you are aware, all of these resources that I'm going through with you today are located in Schoology, in a group in Schoology titled District All Faculty. In there at the very top of that is a virtual summer school program folder, and I will show you how you get to that. So to get to your resources for today, you're going to log into Schoology and then click on Groups. Once you click on Groups, you may see the course here. Again, it is called District All Faculty, but if you don't see it, up here at the top on the right-hand side, click on My Groups. And then you might have to scroll through the groups that you are a member of. And mine is down here, and it has our Bellevue Public Schools logo and District All faculty. And click on that. And then you'll come over here to the left-hand side and click on Resources. And then at the very top, you will see a folder, the orange folder, Virtual Summer School Program. And then in here, you'll see the presentation that I started with, and then setting up your Zoom classroom handouts. These are the two presentations that I'm sharing with you, and also some tips and tricks that Dr. Rippey shared. You will also see instructional design ideas and some resources in there, and classroom management and expectations. I also want to make you aware that this is where the exit ticket is located. So after going through this presentation, if you have some questions, there will be spots for you on that exit ticket to share with us what you would like more training on. So we're going to go back here to this slide where it talks about setting up your Zoom meeting and during the Zoom meeting, and we're going to start on the top link, setting up your Zoom meeting. This is a presentation that will walk you through how to set up your Zoom meeting using the web browser of your choice, so Safari or Chrome, whichever you feel comfortable using. And what I am going to do is go live and show you all of these steps live. But this is accessible in that Schoology group. Okay, so I am here at Zoom, and once you're logged in, you might see a screen like this where I'm looking for my account. If not, you might just have to click on this Zoom over here on the left-hand side. And then once I click on my account, at the very top of the screen right here, you will see Schedule a Meeting. So I will click on Schedule a Meeting, and then this is where you schedule your meeting. So you would name your meeting, and then you can add a description if you'd like to. Down here is where you select the date and the time, the duration of your meeting, and then just make sure that you're in Central Time. If it's a reoccurring meeting and you're going to use the same meeting ID, you can check mark that. Registration is not required. You can choose to have the meeting ID generated automatically, or you can use your personal meeting ID if you'd like to. We do recommend that you require a password, and that is the default now for Zoom, for kids to get into that with a password so you can control who's coming in and out of your Zoom. Then you have some choices here for video with the host or the participant, turning that on and off. Go ahead and leave your audio at both. And then down here, we have some recommendations for you, but of course it is your choice on how you would like to manage these options. So the first one, enable join before host, we would actually recommend that you uncheck that so that students aren't joining before you get there. Mute participants upon entry, that's just personal preference. If you'd like to mute them so that you don't have the distractions of sound that might not be important to you, you can make the choice on that one. We do recommend enabling the waiting room just so that you can verify who's there. And if you have a waiting room enabled, it will notify you that someone is waiting, and you can just click to have them enter the room. You don't have to have only authorized users can join. Breakout rooms, you pre-assign those if you'd like to. You can click that, and then you have some options to create some rooms and assign students to those rooms. And then if you'd like to record the meeting automatically or not. And then any alternative hosts. Once you do that, you click Save. And what will pop up is your information for having the students join, your share information. So you can go ahead and add this to your Google Calendar if you would like to. But here is the invite link, or you can also click here and copy the invitation, and you maybe have received a Zoom invitation before and it kind of has all the information in there for you. But if you wanted to copy that and paste it into Schoology, or if you were sending that initial meeting information in an email, that's where you would grab that. Or maybe you just want to grab the link and create your own invitation. And then it just goes through how you have some of the things set up. If you notice something's not correct, go ahead and say edit this meeting right there. Then you can go back into those features. All right, once that is set up, over here on the left-hand side, if you click on meetings, or go back to my meetings, here are the meetings that I have scheduled. Right over here on the right-hand side, you'll see a start button. So you can hit start from here, or back on the screen that I was on before, there was also a start. But this is where you can start your meeting right from here. The next thing we want to show you is the settings feature. So over here on the left-hand side, you can change some of your settings so that you have your own preferred default settings. So if you come in here, you will see on the left-hand side, in meeting settings, basic, advanced, email notification, and some other things. You can scroll through this and turn these things on and off, and then from here on out, when you create a meeting, this will be the default. So if I click on in meeting basic, for example, and the private chat, it says allow meeting participants to send a private one-to-one chat. We recommend that you don't allow that with students. So if I turn it off here, it will turn it off. Anytime I create a meeting, it will automatically be off. Now, if you forget to do this, I will show you how you can change that within the meeting if you forget to do it ahead of time. But there are a number of options in here that you can toggle on and off. And if you have any questions about those, just be sure to let us know. You can also, once you have your meetings created, if I click back here on the meetings tab, I can click into my summer school course, and then I can scroll down to the bottom again and click into edit this meeting, and I can edit from right here. The next thing I want to go over with you is how you adjust settings during a Zoom meeting. And this is the second link right here, during the Zoom meeting. This is also a PDF in the Schoology group for you to access. And these are hyperlinks. So for example, if you're looking to disable private chat, you can go straight to slide 4 and it will show you how to do that. So what we've done here for you is taken screenshots to show you how to do this, because when you are in a Zoom and you screen share, it will not show these features. Only the host can see these features. So for example, I talked about if you forget to turn on your private chat, when you're in Zoom, notice down here you can click on chat, and then you click on the 3 dots over here and select your settings for the chat. So you can turn that off if you forget to turn that off. Disabling users from renaming themselves. Sometimes teachers like to turn that off. So again, you'll click on participants and then more, and you'll see right here, allow participants to rename themselves. You can uncheck that so that they can't do it. I'm not going to walk through all of these with you. You will be able to access this in Schoology, and it will show you some of the things that you can do within your Zoom meeting to control some of the settings. The next thing we're going to talk about is classroom management and expectation ideas for your Zoom meeting. So one of the things you might do is have your expectations posted when students enter the Zoom room. So if they need to make sure they're muted or whatever it is that you are requiring them to do. Time for students to practice with the tools that you will be using. So if you think you're going to have them screen share or raise their hand, how do they mute and unmute? You might go over those with them in that first meeting to make sure they are familiar. Practice positive feedback, and then manage participants using the Zoom settings. Again, as we just went over, some of those settings can be taken care of ahead of time, and some of them you can take care of in the meeting. Moving a student into the waiting room or removing them from the meeting might be something you want to consider also. So next, what we have for you are elementary expectations, secondary expectations, and some staff netiquette. So I will just click on each of these for you and let you Look at those on your own depending on if you're an elementary or a secondary teacher. For the elementary expectations, there are some resources in here for you focusing on be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. And it goes through each section on how to be respectful on Zoom. And this is for the students. So this is something that you could take and make a copy of, make adjustments to it, or just share this directly with your students. Great information in here for your students on how to be respectful, be responsible, and being safe. So again, you will want to go find this in the district all faculty Schoology group and go through these and see what you'd like to share with your students or make any changes that you would like. For the secondary expectations, we have a Google Doc here that does the same thing. It goes through be safe, be responsible, and be respectful. And again, you are more than welcome to share these directly with your students, or you can add a few of your own things in here if you'd like to in each of those sections. It's just really talking about things the students can do to make this learning environment a great environment for all involved, all fellow students and the teachers. So you can go through and use these as you wish, or you can make adjustments to them. So those are two things that are a little bit different between elementary and secondary. And then the last one is some staff netiquette, again found in the Schoology group, just to have you think about before launching those Zoom meetings. The first one being focusing on professional classroom behavior and just kind of taking care of things in advance and being prepared, kind of a distraction-free environment, which we know many people are working at home with kids, and you do the absolute best that you can. So we understand that these are unique situations here. It also talks about mindful, effective communication with your students when you're in Zoom. And then the last one speaks about modeling respectful interpersonal interactions and talks about the chat and some of the things you might do with your students. So that is also there for you to read through, and we recommend that you do read through that. This is the staff netiquette that the administration had looked at and okayed, so be sure to take some time to read through those. The last thing we're going to go over is instruction and engagement in an online world. And two things that you maybe have heard of before. We talk a little bit about synchronous and asynchronous learning. So synchronous would be when you're together, kind of like synchronized swimming. Everybody's doing the same way. You have that two-way communication and interaction going on. Maybe you're having breakout groups, so everybody's in a group, but you're doing the same thing, just in a smaller group. You have a lot of live check for understanding going on when you're doing synchronous teaching and learning. And on the other side is asynchronous, where that's just that one-way communication where feedback is provided after the fact, or maybe no feedback is needed. It might be a short lesson by the instructor. Maybe it's a video they're watching on their own asynchronously, and then they come together for the synchronous learning and talk about what they learned and what they saw. These might be short presentations given by the students that they upload, and you view it later, a video or something they've written. So just some terms to think about when you're planning for your Zoom sessions in your Zoom classroom, to kind of have a combination of some of those things, some synchronous learning and some asynchronous learning, and that'll help keep those students engaged throughout the course of that online learning. Some of the ideas for instructional design, the top link right here, Building Blocks of an Online Lesson, was shared from Catlin Tucker. And what you will see here is it takes the building blocks of an online lesson and the objective of that block, and then what are some online tools that you could use. Anything over here that is a hot link, those are Zoom features that you can use. So you can click on each of those and it will tell you how to set those up. So for example, down here in student engagement and discussion, you might do a breakout room. So if you click on that, that'll go through the steps on how you actually set up a Zoom breakout room. And again, we want to reiterate that if you have any questions, that you reach out to any of us and we can help you with that. So for example, at the top, the anticipatory set, you might want to use the reaction tools in Zoom, or maybe you want to do a chat or a poll. And there are some other resources there too that you might be able to use with your students. So this is also accessible in that Schoology group. So feel free to look at that and use any of those tools and reach out if you have any questions about that. The second thing here, lesson planning idea with Google Slides. We do want to remind everyone that we are a Google school, so we know that that is something that students can use on the web. So depending on if they have an Apple device, an Android device, a laptop, an IBM, if they can access the internet through a web browser, you can use those you can use those Google tools. So this walks you through the different components of a lesson, starting with Explore. And you can actually make a copy of this and put your information in here. The next thing that you do is Explain. And on slide 9 here, this talks about, if you probably have 5th, 6th grade on up and students do have access to a web browser, you can record a video using Screencastify to share what they are learning. So, or what they have learned, or anything you'd like them to share with you. This might be something that they can do, and they can drop that video into Schoology for you to read. So just an idea in there, and then we come with elaborate on that, and how do they make connections with their learning, and then last is evaluate, where you would do a check for understanding, and many different tools in Zoom that you could use, a poll or the chat reactions, any of those, even a breakout room and sharing what they learned. So those are some ideas for instructional design. The last thing that we have is an exit ticket for you. So we would like you to go into the Schoology folder and take a look at the exit ticket at the bottom and go ahead and fill that out and give us some information on what you would like more training on. That would help us greatly so that we can provide some office hours or some additional training that would be optional next week. So thank you, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.